the town. Here is our subject property as stated, the TMS number 20906000344. This is a parcel more commonly the community identified within Night Heron Park. It currently is approximately 1.8 acres in size, and its future land use designation is commercial. The subject property is the current site here where the existing nature center is. And I've had an aerial map here to show you the designation of this parcel. Staff took a site visit, and I'm just going to show you just a few images from the site itself, as well as the adjacent parcel, which is also a makeup of Night Heron Park collectively. So this is the Nature Center. You see images to the bottom of this screen here that shows you the approach to the what I'm calling the shared or deck, central located deck that connects the Nature Center with the pavilion. Just beyond this is the nest recently developed by the developer, the property owner. A few more images of the site. Currently, Night Heron Park is an active recreation and open space land use designation, so it does include uses of recreation, as well as most folks are familiar with the Nest, which houses cafe. Again, there are additional outdoor recreation opportunities here for the community. So the commercial land use designation that's in our comprehensive plan. This category is intended to promote planned small-scale commercial activity, including specialty businesses, personal services, and family restaurants, such as facilities should be designated to complement the character of the surrounding community. This is the current designation that's being requested to be changed. In our comprehensive plan, the mirror or example designation of commercial is what we would identify as Freshfields Village. This particular parcel is being requested to go to this particular parcel's future land use destination is being requested to go to active recreation and open space. The definition that's aligned in our comprehensive plan, these are particular properties. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back one side. Just to give a quick example of what the future land use for the area. So Seaforest Drive itself and adjacent properties, they're high density residential. When you look at Meredith's Watch, Winsett Villas, and across the area of Seaforest Drive, those are designated medium density residential, where Night Heron cottages are. And I'll point this out to you in the zoning map in just a few. Here, just where I was a minute ago, the active and recreation open space designation. This aligns with our active parks, Tennis Center, Night Heron Park, property owners, beach and recreation center, which is known as Sandcastle facility. These all fall within the active recreation and open space land use designation. This category also provides for opportunity for lands that remain in their natural state. So it does include both developed and undeveloped lands as far as categories of development. Here is the current future land use map. So the subject property that we're discussing is the identified area in red. That identified area in red is commercial based on our future land use designation. The request today is to change that to the bright green color, which is active recreation and open space. And so the applicant has requested this change in order to make that consistent for a future development project. Based on our zoning ordinance, this is the Planning Commission's recommendation. Based on Section 12-157, the Planning Commission can recommend to Town Council for approval to deny or approve with conditions this proposed amendment, and that's based on the approval criteria of Section 7, subsection 7. This does just require a simple majority of the Planning Commission, and town council, after your decision on a recommendation, this particular hearing would go before town council for approval. And a public hearing, as stated earlier, has been scheduled already, which town council will host that public hearing. Town council will actually act to approve conditions or deny the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, and that is based on also a simple majority vote. The approval criteria for the comprehensive plan amendment is as follows, and the applicant has provided a response in your packet of materials. But the comprehensive plan amendment may be approved by town council only if they determine that the proposed amendment is consistent with the overall purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan, and any amendment to the land use diagram or other maps shall be consistent with the vision and goals in the text. As part of the review, staff has provided just some nuance based on the applicant's response. And for your consideration, staff has mentioned that the proposed amendment does provide greater zoning consistency with the existing Night Heron Park facility. And Night Heron Park is a centralized location for recreational activity, both past and present. One thing that I wanted to highlight, that the current parcel, you can see that it's sort of what I'm identifying as a gerrymandered parcel, really oblong, irregular shape. And that was done based in 1980, in the early 80s of when that parcel was developed. It was sort of drawn around a restaurant building. And so that's why it's sort of irregularly shaped. This provides opportunity to modify that property boundaries of that current irregular shape parcel. And the shape boundaries currently restrict the redevelopment opportunity for it. So that's one of the main principles of this rezoning application. Also, the proposed zoning and future land use designation reduce future intensity of the land uses for Night Heron Park. There are differences between our commercial designations and our active recreation and park designations. And then just wanted you all to be mindful that the proposed developments will need to go through our site plan review approval process before approval. And so upon that, I will stop there as sort of wrapping up the first comprehensive plan amendment request, and I can answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. First, I think the resort does a fantastic job on Night Heron Park. It's a great place. I just want to understand exactly where this area is. Is it where the current trailer is? That I was having trouble visualizing exactly where this lot was. And I've spent a lot of time there, and I have no problem with this. I just wanted to understand specifically what it is. And going to active recreation, I assume you're going to have great things there for people to do.
So I will try to give you a play-by-play call of accessing the site based on this area. So
yeah, because it's all trees. I mean, I go in there, so I know.
So yeah, I'm going to give you a short narrative, and then I'm going to allow Mark to come. Maybe can clean up here. If you were to take Seaforest Drive coming off of the Parkway,
right
on the left-hand side, you'll notice the first parking lot. That's actually part of the greater parking lot of Night Heron Park. It's not on this particular parcel. If you were to continue past the second entrance where the nest is and continue on, that second parking lot area is where this parcel begins.
So just in front of the nest.
So beyond the nest.
If you don't turn into the second entrance to the parking lot, but you keep going down
If you keep
Seaforest?
going, there's a second parking lot, and then so I think the area probably you would be most familiar with is the existing nature center.
Yeah.
The existing nature center, there is a back of the house delivery access point that takes you back to Seaforest Drive. That's where this parcel is. So all of the there's the backside of where the bike rentals are of the nature center. All of that is housed on this particular property. So this image right here is showing you entering to the backside of that, and this crosses over the lagoon area of where that parcel is. I don't know if that's extremely helpful.
It helps a little. Yeah, I've never gone around the backside. I always go into the nature center on the front side. So. Yeah, so there's your entrance to the nature center. Okay.
That's the nature center, the front entrance to the nature center there. So from that particular point back towards the lagoon is where this property is.
And what's on it right now?
The nature center is
The current nature
the current
center, so
center
you're going to
nature-
move the nature center.
the trailers is in the open, active,
Right.
the greater Night Heron Park.
Yeah,
So that's not, those current trailers that are, that's not on this parcel.
okay, but there will be a nature center somewhere. Okay.
So if you go back to the aerial picture, that's right along Sea Forest. That's where that
Okay, so
stop
this is
sign
if you go beyond, okay. Okay.
John,
Yeah. okay.
can you go to that colored picture of this with all the different? So what is the area between the red and that lagoon?
In green,
Sea forest, red, the green, and then the blue. What's that green area?
I'm going to highlight here. I'll just
Right
make
there,
sure this
yes.
area.
Yeah.
So that's part of the greater Night Heron Park,
Just a continuation.
just a
of the park.
continuation of the,
I mean, what is that zoned greater recreation now, or what is that zoned?
Go ahead, Mark.
Mark will probably be a better.
We'll tag team. Mark Primar, I'm here representing the Key Island Golf Resort, along with Norm Engard and Roger Warren. To answer the question about that little green area between the lagoon and the red area looking like a South Carolina congressional district, that is open spillover parking area. The red area is where there's asphalt parking in that area. And originally, the original master plan for Night Heron Park, and I'm aging myself here now, in 79 and 80, that was parking largely attributed to the restaurant that was in the nature center. That was a restaurant, Night Heron Cafe, and beach parking. You see under the words subject property, that's also part of Parkland, and that's an access way for people to park in that area and walk to the beach. So I don't know if that's helpful at all, but essentially the land that's both the combination of that little green area and the red area that bumps up against Sea Forest Drive, that's largely a parking and access area that would be maintained. The intent is to allow for the continued revitalization of Night Heron Park that started with the Nest. And the idea would be to take the existing nature center, demolish it, and redesign that for indoor recreation in a new, fresh nature center. The purpose in eliminating this commercial classification, which is sort of an anomaly, quite frankly, is to eliminate that boundary line between the two, because you have to have setbacks then off of each of the zoning districts. What this allows for is to more appropriately retain more trees in that area and design in a more comprehensive way.
Mark, where will the new nature center be built?
It generally in the same position as the existing one, because it plays off of the boardwalk that provides access, and having it right along the lake there, the connectivity to the lake, and then to the north to the open parkland. So it's a great location for the nature center, indoor recreation center.
And can you expand a little bit on the indoor recreation center and what that will include?
Well, Roger might want to address that, but essentially, we are rich in outdoor recreation activities in Night Heron Park, but for those times when occasionally we have inclement weather, families in particular have been seeking indoor activities. So that could be any number of indoor activities for kids and so forth. So Roger, I don't know if you want to expand
Mark,
upon
before
that,
Roger
but
comes
that
up.
combination of indoor and outdoor recreation, it's all about recreation.
Before he comes up, I'm not sure you answered my question. That green, it's overflow parking, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, and is that paved or unpaved today?
The green portion is unpaved. It's like spillover, high capacity parking. And then the red area is the paved area. So if you were to go by there after the meeting or so, you'll see the differential there. And there have been, during high season with events in the park, that spillover parking is pretty critical in terms of use.
Thank you.
And there was also,
Before you run-
Mark, before the public comment was about
Before you run, the
parking.
parking is not being eliminated?
Yeah, that was,
No, no. I mean,
The existing parking stays?
Right, it would be part of a comprehensive.
designation.
it would-
Okay.
The whole circulation in this area would be part of a comprehensive approach to reinventing this part of the park.
Right, some of us do remember that was the only way to get into the restaurant and the pool years ago.
For the people that were inside, that's the best parking for
Right.
those areas, in addition to now remember, the resort has expanded and more properly defined parking to the north with nest improvements.
yeah, I think, and just to address the parking, because there was a public comment, I mean, I assume you guys know what you're doing and are going to account for whatever parking, so just reassure whoever in the public wants to know there will still be parking there.
Well, as there would be minimal parking required by zoning law, but at Night Heron Park, there's been far more than the required parking. And so this area would be accounting for that too. It would be part of the overall master plan for parking in the Night Heron Park area. Some to the north of the pool and the nest, and some to the south.
Thanks, Mark. Roger?
Thank you. I'm Roger Warren. I'm president of the resort. When you look back to the fact that this parcel was zoned back in 1980, it's about the same time that the current buildings were built, was back in that area. So we've been dealing with the fact that we've got an aging asset in an area that's a high popular area. And so our goal here is to upgrade the entire area. And the benefit is that we get to do in this development, we are going to take the existing pool, bathroom, and shower area and tear it down and build new. We're going to take the existing bar area, dining area that's outside on the deck, tear it down and build new. We're going to take the existing building that houses the nature center, and also it was a kitchen that was used to provide food to the pool. We intend to tear that down and build a new building that will provide basically an up-to-date nature center with a way to do much more modern exhibits. We have Liz and her team involved in trying to create a bigger and better story, if you will, about what we're trying to present for nature on Kiowa. It also allows us to do a bigger classroom where they hold classes about the nature situation, the pottery area where they do pottery. All of that will be, and offices, frankly, for the recreation staff that have been housed in the current attic of the building, and so we'll give them something that's a little bit more appropriate for them. We'll also be adding activities, as Mark alluded to. We get a lot of comments about what are we supposed to do at night with our kids? What are we supposed to do at night if we're a golf group and they don't want to go out and just drink? So we are going to offer an arcade there, a bar with that will serve food and everything to the people who are in the activity center. We're going to have 2 golf simulators, so golf could be played in there at night, and we're going to build 8 bowling lanes. 8 bowling lanes, and so that we can add activities for people inside. It actually, at the nighttime, it then allows you to control the noise coming out of the park too, which when it's been many times unsupervised has been an issue, and so we're looking for a way to manage that situation. So all of that, this particular zoning, when we looked at it, we realized that we were well into our planning for it and that we wouldn't be able to build what we wanted to on that site if we didn't change this zoning because of the boundaries and the setbacks off the boundaries. So this accommodates it there. Otherwise, with the fact that what we're building would qualify for the parks and recreation area, we would have to move out into the park someplace else and do it. And that's not as appealing to us because we don't want to take away any more parkland than we have to because of the value of it. We would intend to expand the existing parking both in the back area that is close to Sea Forest back there, and then also the area around the basketball court. We're going to have to increase some landscaping to create parking. And what we're going to try to do with the parking is not have it be asphalt parking, but have it be permeable so that we can control runoff better and not have to have, prepared surfaces or whatever that tend to force us then to create compensation someplace else. So this is part of a plan to improve the experience for everyone who uses Knight Heron Park and would appreciate the zoning change and the ability to get approved as we come forward with this project to get it approved.
And would this facility be open to the public?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you foresee that there may be the same kind of reaction to a bowling alley as there might have been to a putt-putt course?
I would anticipate not. I was opposed to a putt-putt course, so let me make, that's probably not completely accurate. Our goal is that because we think the interest will be there, we'll do it by reservation. And we'll have priorities for those. And priorities will obviously start with our guests who stay at the resort, members of our Governor's Club, and then we would go from there from a priority. We think it'll be very popular. And we want to take care of the people that we serve the most first. I know what the concern is. I'm not sure I can allay all the concerns about the public, but I don't think there'll be that much availability based on whom we would have priority to.
Said public, I assumed it would be open to your normal resort guests, Kika, people who live on the island, but someone living on John's Island can't just say, oh, I want to go to the bowling
I
alley.
don't think they'll be able to get through the gate.
Okay, so when you say, that's why I want to clarify what you meant by public.
But it could be.
But it's
Well,
not open to the public.
We're working with the community association to identify and control access to our facilities. We've gone to a process with our restaurants where you have to have a reservation and you have to be able to show that reservation at the gate. We're trying to get rid of the days when you could just pull up the gate and say, I'm going to one of the restaurants, and there was no way to really verify it. So we are participating with the community association in trying to resolve that issue.
So it's not open to the broad public, it's open to the Kiowa Island
As you're defining
public.
it there, I would say not.
Okay, I think that's important.
Projected hours of operation?
You know, I don't want to make up something because I don't think that we've actually looked at the operations, but like most of our facilities, I would anticipate we'd be open past 10 o'clock.
Any other questions for Roger?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So if I can conclude.
Go ahead, Mark.
As I indicated, there's very little we can add to the documentation, the presentation by John in terms of the existing conditions as well as the proposal. What we believe this does is downzone and reconsolidate what used to be one whole place, Knight Heron Park, when it was originally conceived. And normally I can cite history of transitions of this and that. The only time period that I can't remember because I wasn't involved in the way I have been since 1979 was 1985 to 1987, when I left the employ of the company along with some other people, and then eventually re-engaged. That must have been the time period that the Kuwaitis at that time established this separate parcel, because it was never conceived originally like that. It was always conceived as one place, recreation and park oriented, and designed as such. And I can't explain the history on this one, but we hope that you would find favor in the recommendation to bring it back and restore it to one classification, both in the comprehensive plan as well as underlying zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
And for clarification, the applicant's Knight Heron Park Company, but that is really the resort.
Yes, that is a sub-company of the resort, but I'm going to have to check. We just consolidated all of our companies. We had a Ospey Point company, we had two Turtle Point. We consolidated it all under one entity, which is Kiowa Island Golf Resort. I just have to make sure that that's the correct designation here.
This hasn't made its way through the formal process, but that is the property owner, correct? Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Hey, John, can I ask one other question?
Go ahead.
Sorry for being so. On this map, the area where the nest is that correctly shown as active and recreation open space, or is that commercial?
Active recreation and open space.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think John has shared with me that as we seek approval for these two items, we have to do so separately. So first, for the comprehensive plan amendment request, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Joanne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ron.
Before you vote, one question, because we can approve with conditions. I just want to be really clear on the access, that this is for your resort guests and anyone who lives on the island and uses Night Heron Park, that is not open to the general public.
Also not open to everybody living on the island yet.
Well, right, I guess if you have Governor's Club or whatever, but I just want to be clear that it is not the sort of thing that someone on Johns Island can say, oh, I want to take my kids bowling on Kiowa, call up and make a reservation and come.
That's not intended right now, but I'd like to pose a question back to you. Why would you treat this differently than our golf courses?
Fair point.
Because you can call up and make a reservation to play golf at our golf courses. You can call up and make a reservation to go to a restaurant on the island, and as long as you have that reservation, you can come on the island. So I'm concerned about the fact that in this we would draw a distinction somehow for this use compared to everything else that we have access to.
Hadn't thought of it that way. I was thinking more that there had been postings by moms on Johns Island on how to access Night Heron Park, bring your kids just to play at Night Heron Park. And, you know, there was hope that the gate wouldn't allow that. But so you're saying if they have a specific reservation, it would be treated the same as a golf course or a restaurant, but that would be noted at the front gate. You couldn't just say.
The control point would be checking for reservations at the front gate.
Thank you.
So I had the same concern, Joanne. I mean, I could see where, you know, the word got out, hey, we're going to go bowl for an hour, and then where the parking is and the access to the beach right there, they could then spend the rest of the day at the beach. So that would be something I would think about.
Okay.
One other question, is the activity, is that going to all be housed under one building? The golf, the...
Yes, it is. I think, Mr. Farrell, I would say again, that can happen now with any other reservation access we have for any of our activities that we offer with reservations. So I couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't happen, and I'm not sure how you stop it. And I guess I understand the concern, but I think going to the reservation process is the next best step that we can do there. Well, yeah, we would, for us, the reservation then is based on availability, and our availability ranking would be people who, you know, like we do with golf. There are some people who can't get a reservation before certain days. And then in restaurants, if they're full, they just can't get it at all. But we do set aside for Governor's Club, we set aside for residents, we set aside for other people to get reservations. So I think that in regards to access to the beach, and it's interesting, we are the ones who bear the burden of people coming in wanting to get access to the beach because they park on our properties. There's really no place else for them to park. So we're very sensitive to that too, trying to make sure that we're not getting people that don't belong there.
I have one more question. Is, on this particular piece of property, is there the possibility that anything else would be built?
I don't believe there's enough there to add anything other than what we're going to propose when we come back for approval for this project.
And once again, I'm advancing to the zoning request as opposed to the comp plan request. The zoning makes very clear listing of what you're allowed to do in terms of land use types, which are all organized and oriented toward parks and recreation. So right now, there's a much broader range of uses under the commercial classification that certainly the property owner has no intention of doing. But what this would do, if it were confirmed, is severely restrict the nature of the uses to be aligned with Parks and Recreation, as opposed to commercial.
And the trailers that are there right now, they're temporary. And that's where the recreation staff and these activities will be housed until we get the construction done, and then they'll go back into their new building, and those trailers will leave the park and give us back that space in the park too.
And the anticipated timeline?
Well, my hope is that we're going to get under construction in December in the fourth quarter, and we're going to get it done in less than 18 months. So it could be 15 or 16 months, but it's not a big building. But I don't know if anybody's done any construction recently, but it's there's no way to say definitively what you're going to get and when you're going to get it done.
If anyone knows Liz, it's going to be done as promptly as possible, right?
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Move right along. I already have a motion for approval, and I have a second. So all those in favor of approving the comprehensive plan amendment request, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then we'll go on to the zoning map amendment request that John updated us on. Do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Staff comments, John, what can you update us on?
Very briefly, I would just like to highlight just a few things. I think I was aware that most of you watched Town Council meeting on yesterday to hear a number of updates relative to projects. So I won't divulge in most of those, but just highlight a few. One is, if you aren't busy this afternoon, Charleston County will be doing their 5-year review for the comprehensive plan drop-in at Berkeley Electric. That is this afternoon from 5:30 to 7:30. And so we have been encouraging residents and property owners to partake in that process. So I encourage you all to, if you have the availability, to do so. The other is we have, when working on our marsh management plan, we currently are still driving to bring back forth some recommendations to this committee and to the town and designated approval bodies. At our last meeting, we discussed more intently our communications plan, which Commissioner Kay has been steering that subcommittee. That has been, I think, the furthest along of the 3 priorities that we've identified. And so hopefully in the near term, you'll be actually seeing some fruit of that plan more broadly in the community. The next update that I want to share, you heard updates regarding Andale West, MUSC, and the other off-island project relatively to medical facility proposed on Betsy Carson. All those are intended to make their way for some type of level of engagement with Charleston County in either July or August. And so we'll keep you informed on those dates when those dates are available appropriately. The last 2 things regarding continuing education, I have been keeping an eye out for those. I have historically liked to provide things that have been relevant to you all. The list has been very slim, so I've gotten my marching orders from Ms. Hennessy today that no matter what those may be, we'll still provide those to you. So the next few ones, if they're not relevant, please take that up with Ms. Hennessy, okay?
The only reason I did that was we only have till the end of the year and we
Correct.
have the requirements.
Correct.
So like it or not, we got to sit in on something.
The additional note I have, very briefly, you all sat in the workshop today. I just wanted to highlight that Nina Norberg is our planning intern, so she joined us today. Our planning department, for lack of better, is growing. That's all the updates I have for you today.
Thanks, John. And regarding liaison updates, Michael cannot be with us today. And anything from town council meeting yesterday that you want to update us on his behalf?
I think I mentioned Andale West briefly. Upper Beachwalker was a high discussed item yesterday at town council meeting. just to reassure that no decisions have been made on that particular project. The discussion yesterday regarding the Upper Beachwalker parcels is for the opportunity for us to begin to engage with the developer on seeing if there's appetite for a planned development district for those parcels. And so that's sort of beginning stages. Whatever the developer decides to do, that will make its way back before you all. As you all know, you've received preliminary plat approval for that parcel, for those parcels. But I think I'll use the comments of the mayor, so the ball's in developers' court and kind of what they foresee for that particular project. But council did want to open up to the community the appetite for the opportunity for a discussion to bring back, I think, an engaged plan that where some concerns raised. And so at the appropriate time, that will come back before you for review. Just a note, we have on that note regarding Beachwalker, we have received site plan for Lower Beachwalker. So that's under review right now of our site plan review approval process. And those are the only two sort of development related.
Just one correction, NUSC, 57 County, they announced
Correct.
yesterday that they're actually going to be building in the town, in the Seafields area, so that's going to be part of the town's review.
Correct. So not Charleston County, but hopefully we'll see that in the near future based on their timeline. I think that's most of y'all from town
John,
council.
Two questions, and really dovetails on Stephanie's point. Do we have any need, or will there be any responsibilities as a result of the move to the town for MUSC to change zoning, to add additional approvals, or
Right now, we
other
don't.
than a preliminary plat?
Right now, depending on the scope of work, we don't see anything right now that would necessarily need a requirement for the planning commission. There may be plat boundaries that shift, that type of thing, but they're still working on, I think, their due diligence to figure out exactly. We've heard that the design of the building's changed, a number of things have changed, and so at that time, once we receive something from them, we can make that determination whether it comes back before you or not.
It was pretty clear it's going to be towards the end of the summer, early fall, when we see the preliminary plan, preliminary plat. With respect to what's being called the Upper Beachwalker parcels, a lot of conversation about alternatives, things being considered between what I would call the ad hoc group of town officials talking to the developer or to the partners. List of proposals the partners are going to consider. They may or may not do anything with them. Given all the information we got, the question is, when do we expect something coming from the partners to the Planning Commission?
It's kind of a when or if. I mean, I can't give you a timeline of when that would be. Those decisions have to be made by the applicant, the property owner.
Okay? That's all I have.
And just to tag on to Andy's comments.
Sorry?
Just to tag on to your comments. When the mayor was talking about this process yesterday, he was very clear in saying that in October, the Planning Commission had approved the preliminary subdivision plat. And I think out in the community, there may not be a full understanding of or appreciation of the process that goes by. And I am concerned that there may be community members either in attendance or listening to the webcast who thought that when the mayor said this was approved by the Planning Commission, I'm not sure they knew exactly what was approved. So I want the community to understand that there's still quite a lot of process that needs to go forward.
Yeah,
Before this plan.
I would echo that. I would echo those sentiments. I mean, we have not received any site plans or anything beyond what has been approved preliminary plat-wise for those parcels. And so just to clarify for the record, only thing for those lots that have been approved is preliminary plat.
To clarify again, the buildings have not been approved. It was a conceptual plan. We approved an access road from Beach Walker to parcel 8. But the buildings that appeared on the plan, already showed lot incursions and things that, it was a concept. And we've approved the plat, but what actually will be built there will come back either some form of what we saw in October, or hopefully if this works out, to work with the partners, something completely new. But to reassure the community, no buildings have been approved at this point.
So I'll share first that no buildings have been approved. That goes through our site plan review approval process. And so that is a process for non-single family residential that needs to check through all of our zoning standards. And so that process has not commenced. I do want to share that there are options essentially for the property owners. And so the option of doing this potential plan development district is just an option where that would require planning commission approval. If they proceed not to pursue plan development and go sort of what has been identified sort of a by right plan, that would go through our normal site plan review process where you won't necessarily have engagement with that particular process of what happens on that site.
Okay, thank you, John. Now is the opportunity for any public comments on any agenda items that we discussed today. Please come up, state your name, address, please.
My name is Sherry Gallagher. I live at 119 Spartina Court. Thank you, John, for explaining that, because I was at the town council meeting yesterday and it was unclear. When we saw that big slide up there with all the buildings on it, Planning Commission has approved this preliminary site plan. It was confusing, so I'm glad we clarified that. Thank you for asking the question. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Any other comments? Okay, commissioner comments. Andy, start with you.
I have no further comments.
No comments from Andy. Luke?
Just thanks to Mr. Pramar and Mr. Warren for their presentation and their idea and continued great development on Kiowa, so thank you.
Madeline?
A quick comment on the marsh management plan. We have made a lot of progress on the communication element of that plan. I want to thank Aaron, who's in the back of the room, who's leading the charge in the collaborative effort from the resort, the Conservancy, Kika, the town, and she's really coordinating a fairly large group of people now who will start our communication probably this summer, at the latest this fall. So one of the things we talked about in our comprehensive plan workshop earlier this afternoon was around broader educational efforts. And I think that this is a really good example of that work being done. And I want to just thank Erin and her team for the work that they've done on this so far.
Thank you. Joanne?
Just to also thank the resort. I'm looking forward to the redevelopment of Knight Heron Park, and glad you're thinking for our future.
Ron?
It was more of a question. I believe yesterday during that MUSC presentation that he said something about having to maybe rezone for the emergency room.
Okay. No other questions. I'll seek a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?